Hello, everybody. My name is Harvey Kaiser. I am with Milestone Sales Training and Coaching. Generally, what I have been doing is I have been doing these live sales skills workshops, and that's what this is. However, I've been doing them live every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. And however, a lot of people that wanted to join because of time restraints and where they live in the world and other things that come up at 8:30 for them while they're living their lives. And it happens to everybody as they haven't been able to make the meeting. And so I'm trying this new product launch where instead of doing this live, I'm going to make a series of several recorded sessions, which will be covering all 7 key areas of the sale. That's what I do. I am a sales trainer. I have been doing it for 50 years. Just to give you a little bit about my background, the very first sale that I've ever had was I started a business when I was 21 years old. What did I know? I was a kid. I just went for it. I just have a habit sometimes of doing things spontaneously, just like I'm going to do this. This isn't going to be fancy. There isn't going to be any music background, no heavy production here, no editing going on, just how I am and how I do my live sales. So this is really just live. If there are any errors, it's just what happens. And then that's just what happens when I do my live sales skills. This won't be any different. I'm not going to edit anything out unless it's absolutely horrible and I start cursing for no reason at all. That might get edited or there'll be a redo. So however, getting back to my background, my first sale, as I said, I was 21 years old. I went to this hotshot developer's home in Hollywood, Florida. The business that I started on my own was just a one-man show, just me and my car. I was dealing with residential products, low voltage, security and video and basic security equipment for homes. So this was my very first one. And I made the sale. I don't know how. I went in there and I just winged it. And a lot of salespeople do that today. They do their presentations, not realizing there's such thing as a presentation. So they just kind of wing it. And I didn't know any better. And that's what I did at 21. And for some unknown reason, I have a clue why, but I made the sale. And I was as excited as I could be. The first sale ever. And I got my first check ever. And the only reason I think he really did buy the products from me is because I was a referral. And I think it was absolutely about the money. It always is. It's about the money. And I was the cheapest that I could be. However, that's not what we'll be training to do here. We will not be training to sell price. We will be training to sell value so that you get your price because you are worth it. And you're going to be able to prove that to your clients, not just by saying it, by demonstrating it. So I got this check and I went home to my apartment. And the next morning I woke up and the check was sticking out of my dog's mouth with saliva running all over it. And I had to go back to this guy with my tail between my legs, no pun intended, and I had to ask for a new check. So that was my very first experience. And another thing I wanted to mention about that is after I got the check, when I was there, I wanted to bolt out of there as quickly as I could. And I know a lot of salespeople that I've trained over the years have that experience. Once they get the sale, they want to leave as quickly as they can. And that is by far the biggest mistake that you can make, because after the sale, those 10 minutes or so, instead of leaving, if you hang, that's the time to ask for referrals. They're called in the sales profession golden 10 minutes. They are the golden 10 minutes. So just a note about that. So a little bit more about my background really quick is I owned and have sold 2 businesses over the 50 years that I've been working. Excuse the drinking, I've been talking a lot. Both very successful. And I went to work for a Fortune 500 company for the last 15 years as a sales trainer. I was a sales manager and a sales trainer, and they sent me to different areas of the country where I would train their sales teams. And that was an incredible job. I loved doing that. I did it for about 15 years. And then just about the time of COVID, I retired. I just wasn't able to do my job anymore because I had some pre-existing health conditions that were very dangerous if I got COVID. So I was not really able to move around a lot. There's only so much traveling, and during COVID, that absolutely was minimal, as you know, and there's only so much golf I could play. And basically, I just got tired of being retired. I just got bored. It just wasn't something for me. And here's what really happened, which is the most difficult part for me in retirement, was I started to feel, and probably was bordering on, clinical depression. I had lost my passion. I lost my drive. I lost my vision and motivation. And I lost my, primarily, most importantly, I lost a purpose. Now, not to say that we should identify with our jobs to the point that we're going to get depressed if our life circumstances changes, but that's absolutely shouldn't be that way. So it wasn't so much that I identified with the job, and that's why I was getting depressed. It had much more to do with me not having a purpose, not feeling the purpose, not demonstrating to myself what my purpose is. And it just so happens I've discovered what that is, and it's important that we do that. I'm going to even suggest that for you guys tonight. What I discovered is where my passion lies is serving other people. My wife is a psychotherapist. She has been that for as long as we've been married. You guys could guess somewhere around 39 years. I don't know exactly. I forget. I have to do the math, but don't tell her that. So as long as we've been married, I started going to psychotherapeutic trainings that she was going to, because many of them she was allowed to invite her spouse. And that's what we did. And I loved it. I really did. So when I retired, like I considered going back to school and getting, a master's so that I can get my licensing, but I just didn't see the time that it was going to take. And I really didn't think that I was going to be able to push through that amount of school. So I did the very next best thing, which did take a little bit of time, but it was intense. So what I decided to do, because my wife had been suggesting it to me all along, was to become a life coach. And that's what I did. I became a life coach. It took me, I don't know, 6 months or so to get my licensing. And the very first thing I was trained to do, and the reason why I did it, was to help individuals reach their goals. And I got to interact with them and to create passion for them to create their own passion. But however, my mentor, I went to a school called Life Coach Training Institute, which was unbelievable. It's run by a gentleman named Paul Dowdu, who's my current mentor. And when you graduate in life coaching there, you just don't leave, and that's the end of it with your credentials. He has a whole course set up. He came to me for further business development. And he came to me and he said that I really needed to step into a niche that I was comfortable in, that I could just step right into where I would feel more comfortable, and I would feel like I was stepping into something that I was very familiar with, and I was not going to have any imposter syndrome going on, or I wouldn't believe or think that I didn't belong there. And what I chose was this. And I'm happy to say, after, I guess it's been about 3 or 4 months only, I launched this business, and currently I have a full thriving, fully loaded practice, full-time, and I couldn't be happier. This is my passion. And this is what I do is I train people that need more revenue in their lives, who own businesses, or existing sales professionals that really need to brush up on their presentation. And the most important part of all of it is how to prospect and how to get clients. And most salespeople don't do any of that, or they avoid it like the plague because it's uncomfortable. Prospecting takes most out of their comfort zone. And it's something that we need. What happens when a salesperson or a business owner, whether they're brand new or whether they've been doing it for years, most cannot handle the rejection. And so many of us have fear of this rejection. We have tapes and programs going on in the back of our head that's telling us that we're not good enough. We'll never be successful. We're too old, we're too young, we're too fat, we're too thin, we're too white, we're too black, whatever. We have been influenced in our lives from childhood and growing up that there's something wrong with us. And every one of us has that. This is not a blame game. This isn't about blaming your parents or your uncles and aunts or anybody else that you can blame for your lack of confidence. But what it's about from this point moving forward is about you being able to overcome that challenge, because it definitely is a challenge, and it happens to be the most important challenge to overcome when it comes to owning your own business or being in sales, because sales is a numbers game. We need to tune up everything that you present so that it is very professional what you're presenting. But overall, it's a numbers game. And the statistics show that 70% of your time as a sales professional and business owner should be spent on prospecting new business. That's not my number. That is numbers that I have researched. There's another number. That number is 80% of sales professionals on a team are at the bottom. 20% are at the top, and they are the ones that make 80% of the money. They're the ones who have overcome the challenges and the fears and the uncomfort and their uncomfortable zone of feeling fear and feeling afraid and feeling like washing out because they've had so much rejection they can't handle another one. And we have to learn how to reframe that. And there are certain things that we can do to overcome that. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to try to keep this around 30 minutes. It may go a little bit longer, but I'm trying to keep it under. And my live sales were always an hour. I don't want to do that here. There's no one to interact with. So it's a little more uncomfortable for me, but I'll get over it. But I want to keep it under 30 or around 30, because any more than that, I think that I can begin to lose attention. I have my audience lose attention. So let's keep it around that, just to let you know. And what we're doing today is introduction to sales. This is sales skills session number 1. And it's all about knowing how to start and how to frame what you're going to be doing. So the most important and the single most significant way to overcome these challenges that I've been talking about is to create a vision for yourself. Sit down and write out what you believe your purpose to be. What's your passion? What are you happy about doing? What do you like doing? I love doing this and I get paid to do it, which it's an incredible feeling. You got to experience it. And generally, when people get good at what they do, they start to like it a lot. So hopefully we will be doing what we like and what we love doing. It's important to be motivated, and it's important to believe in the product that you are selling. It's important to believe in the company that you're selling for, because those come out in your presentation. And by the way, telling like I'm doing now isn't really selling. Listening has a lot more to do with being a successful sales professional. So I want you to listen to yourself now and create a vision for yourself. Like, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in a year? Do you want to stay where you are? I mean, it's okay, you can. But if you want more revenue and you want to do what you do even better, so you will love it more, start by creating a vision, because you're going to need it. You're going to need a vision to hold out in your forefront, to hold out in front of you when you feel like washing out. And you will. There'll be times you're going to want to wash out. You don't realize that you've made 99 calls and they've all been rejected. And you don't realize that the next call, you're just that much closer to the sale. Most people don't realize that. They don't frame it that way. They frame it like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. That's how 99 rejections come out usually. But if you're going to be the top and you're going to be in that 20% that's making all the money, you've got to overcome that. And the best way, the number one way, is start with vision. So if you haven't written it down yet, do it. Do it tonight. Link it to your purpose and passion. Put it all together. And from now on, you're going to keep that in your forefront. That's what's going to drive you when you feel like washing out. So for now, I want you to listen to a video for a few minutes by this guy, Paul Dadu, that has a strong handle on vision. So let's listen and see what he has to say.
I let them go for 10 minutes, whatever. And then finally, when it was quiet, I was like, you know what? When you don't have vision and you're not doing anything, all you can do is find fault in other people and complain about it. So, but the people who are changing the world and really have vision don't have time to be paying attention to what everybody else is doing, unless they're just finding a problem to solve that those people aren't solving. And maybe that wasn't nice to say, but it was the right thing to say. Because sometimes part of what we've got to do with the what's bothering us means that, hey, instead of complaining about it, maybe it's your calling in life to actually confront whatever it is. Hey, I get it. You don't like status quo, me neither. So go change it. I understand not being a status quo person. It's how this school was born, out of the fact that, dude, I want to change the world, and I believe coaching can do it. So you know what I'm going to do? Rather than just simply be me trying to coach everybody in the world, you know what I'm going to do is that I'm going to train up, and I'm going to encourage, and I'm going to launch coaches all over the world. And last I checked, we've got a significant global footprint. It's the easiest way for me to change the world is to give it to you. And you're like, hey, you see people, you see cracks, you see different things. Like when you have a vision for the group of people that you want to work with, because that's part of the vision for your business, is not just simply making money, but when you are coaching women, some of you are wanting to coach women, some of you are wanting to coach entrepreneurs or whatever, you see a vision for their life, hopefully. There's a vision about what you're wanting to do. And you know what? I don't have to worry about that people group, because I know that there was a coach that I trained that's from Bakersfield or from New York or Vermont or whatever. And you're like, hey, you know what? I don't care what you say about Vermont, but I know that there's one little space and there's a niche inside of Vermont that's doing quite well. You know why? Because I know that there's a coach over there that has a vision for those people, and they're there to change lives. What's frustrating you? What depresses you? Whether you see that in the world, whether you see that in your own family, whether you've seen that generationally in your family, Whether you're seeing things in your life that's like, man, this is not the picture that I expected to see in my life. Is that depressing? It's a good sign that it actually matters. Why don't you quit being depressed, paint a picture of what you want that to look like, and start giving your life to it every day? Someone who tells me that I don't know what, I don't have meaning and purpose in my life. Is there anything that matters to you that is your meaning and purpose in life? Oh, I'm depressed. That's good. That means you're alive and something matters to you. Now go after that thing. A couple of more questions that you can ask. What makes you angry? Don't waste your anger on just going nuts on people and everything else. Utilize it. There's some reason why it's irritating you and frustrating you. What keeps you up at night? It's a good sign that if it's keeping you up at night, you should be giving your life towards it. What if it never happens? Like, what happens to your heart? What happens in your soul? Is it okay if this thing, this picture that's in your heart, if it never happens? Think about the people besides you who lose out if this picture doesn't happen, especially if that category is family. What happens for your children, your spouse, your family, the generations in the future? What are they missing out if you don't find this thing and give your life to it? And the last thing is, on the positive side, is whose story resolves if it does happen? Like, how different is their life? Because this is what that picture of the future really has to look like. That compelling must means that it ultimately changes someone's life. When you can get in touch with what drives you crazy and in touch with how it must look, that is a vision. And that will actually create a momentum that drives you towards it. And it's very easy to make your decisions from that point forward. And you know what we do with vision? We refine the vision, but it doesn't really change. We might even change how we do some things along the way, because it's not about the how, it's about the what, and the vision's the what. You need to pour over that vision. You need to write it in explicit detail. You need to share the vision. You need to talk to people about it. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking that much more about how do we solidify this and how do we actually share the story of vision so that it catapults us to what we're made for.
Okay, guys, so I wanted you to hear a little bit about that before I went on. Paul is absolutely incredible and amazing. Actually, I woke up. I really did. I was asleep in retirement. I was almost literally, more figuratively, but when I say I was asleep, it means my aliveness really started to disappear, and I wanted it back, and I got it back because I'm living out my purpose. I'm teaching other people and training other people and giving them information more than pushing information, but I'm giving other people information that I already know, that I have 50 years of experience with. So what you're looking at right now is the landing page of my website. And this isn't an accident. This isn't directing at anybody in particular. This comes from 50 years of experience. Obviously it says, and this is my tagline, and it's important because this is where sales start from the very beginning. It starts right here. Removing blocks to mastering sales. So what I'm talking about blocks are those things that I just touched on, but are so important. We all have them. The best way to handle these challenges and these blocks are, number one, keep that forefront, that vision in that forefront, in front of you, because that will help you overcome these challenges of that you're not good enough. It's going to help you overcome the anxiety that you're going to have. We all have it. It's normal. It's human. It's natural. We all have it. We're all broken in one way or another. I mean, we're just people. That's all. That's all. No one's better than me, and nobody's less than me. We're all the same on some level. There are personality differences for sure, but inside we all have the same feelings. all of us. So this is, and what I'm saying is that this is very normal to experience these blocks and to experience this fear and to understand and go through and have this sense of rejection and fear of rejection. But most of it sticks when you don't have vision. Vision is the number one way to overcome them. The number one way. Now, there is another way. Besides vision, the other way is through your experience and just doing it. I promise you that if you make those phone calls, knock on those doors, post in social media, how you prospect and where you prospect, I can't tell you right now because this is public. But what I do with my clients one-on-one is that's what we do. And my sessions one-on-one are just like this. It's just me speaking to you. That's it. But we are handling your particular needs, where you need to prospect, what you need to do. But that's important that you do that. And that's going to help overcome the blocks that we have, vision and doing. That is the answer to getting stuck, being stuck, and not moving off from where you are. And you know you need to move off from where you are. That's why why you're listening to this. And it's okay, it's normal, it's natural. All sales professionals go through this. And if you're a business owner or coach, one of the most important things to know is that this is a business. Coaching is a business. You have a business selling whatever it is, you are in the middle of sales transactions daily. It's important to understand that, and it's important to go after it. And if you haven't been, somewhere inside you knows that you could do more and that you could do better. And that's what I'm here for. Harvard University did a study some time back, and they came up with their research saying that 80% of sales is mental. I don't know if that's my experience, but it's close to it. Most of sales really is mental. It has to do with confidence, which you build, and you don't always build it quickly. It may be slowly, but surely, but it does come. And it comes from experience, and it comes from doing, and it comes from not washing out when you feel like washing out. That's how it comes. So here's the next best way to overcome these blocks. We've had vision, we have doing, and we have shining a light on what is in your way. And this is a job for you. You have to discover and explore what's stopping you. Is it fear? Cool, we want to write that down. We want to shine some light on that. You want to be conscious of that. Not dwell in it, but be conscious of it. Shine a light on it. It doesn't matter really where it came from, but if you know, it's okay, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you have it. So you put that in your consciousness so that you know. That's how you get over it. You go, oh, I get it. I have fear, just like everybody else. But you need to stand out from everybody else. That's how you become a winner. That's the difference from a ball player in a slump and he just washes out because he can't get out of it, or a champion that sticks with everyone has slumps. How many strikeouts do home run hitters have? Probably a lot more than most, because they hit more home runs than most. So they're swinging away more than most. Do they want to give up after several strikeouts, or even if they're in a slump? No, the champions don't wash out. They don't give up. They keep going. And it's important to have something in your life called grit and determination. That's another way. And it's a good way. And it's something that you can build on. And it's important to have. So this next video is the last one I want you to see. Again, what we're doing tonight is I am enlightening you on what session 1 consists of, which is building the foundation of your sales life, building the foundation for you being able to live in the sales professional environment. That's what we're doing. That's why I'm showing you these few videos, because it's a foundation. And if you don't have a strong foundation, guess what? Everything will overcome you. Everything will overwhelm you. You'll be overwhelmed with fear. You'll be overwhelmed with guilt and shame because you're not doing what you know you could do. We don't need any of it. We don't need it. So we build this foundation, we build this into ourselves, and then we just do, because that's how to overcome this. And that's how to build a successful sales life and sales environment for yourself. And what I'm going to do is continue to train. The next session will be part of the sales presentation. We'll be going over prospecting. Again, it's not particular to you, but it's general, but we're going to go over that. And there are 6 other sales skills we'll be going over. So that's what my sessions will consist of. So let's listen to this woman, Angela Duckworth. She is a doctor of psychology. She is very well known for her talks on determination and grit. And Angela is currently doing a TED Talk, which is what you're going to be listening to.
When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests. I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking, the kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram, but these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago.
Okay, so I just wanted you guys to hear that last video because she is so impactful. And what she was talking about was the third key element to overcoming challenges and blocks. So that's what we wanted to get set here. So I got to pay my bills since I'm doing this for free. So I just want to let you know exactly what happens with my clients. We do a one-on-one, we create vision, we create determination, and I take you guys through precisely how to prospect for your particular needs, for your particular products in your particular target market, which we determine. And then we build a presentation from there with the elements of a presentation that you need to have. Most sales professionals never even heard the word needs analysis. They don't know there's such thing as a presentation. They don't know what that is. They don't know that they're supposed to ask questions so that they can get the information so the client is actually coming up with the problems and repeating them to himself. Because if he says it, it's worth $1 million. If you say it, it's worth something. But if your prospect says it, it is worth everything. So that's what we work on. To contact me to set up a free, again, 1 hour discussion, or as long as you choose to, on what I can do specifically for you. And I will demonstrate in that hour, it will be a regular session. We're going to find your target market. We're going to talk about prospecting, and it will be a real process. And it will be actually a first session, which is for free. So you can get in touch with me at info@milestonesalescoaching.com. It's on the screen. You can also get me through my Facebook page. You can message me there. You can find me anywhere in LinkedIn and Facebook. Name again is Harvey Kaiser, Keiser. Milestone Sales Training and Coaching is the full business name. So I want to thank you for your attention tonight. I think I probably went over the time, but you know what, guys? I do this with passion. I can't help myself. I just love doing it. So I know I went on a little bit, but I hope it was helpful at the very least.